I am the most serviced fan on earth right now. Oh, The Last of Us premiered on Sunday the 15th of January or the 16th of January for poor little British people like me. And yes, I know you're going to tell us to get a VPN, but no, I'll just suffer and complain about it until Surfshark sponsor me. Anyway, my first little video on The Last of Us did quite well, so here's another one for you zombie-hungry little delinquents out there. In this video, we're going to look at the first episode of The Last of Us TV adaptation, and beyond talking about this episode, this video is going to be spoiler-free, so if you haven't watched the first episode yet, don't complain, you've been warned. We'll be talking about the plot, the characters, how they compare to the game, and I'll also take a little look at what I loved and what I didn't like. With all that housekeeping out of the way, let's dive in. Okay, am I over 30 seconds into the video yet? Can I swear? Okay, great. Fuck yeah, that was so fucking good. I am a happy little chappy right now. Let me gush a little. The show opens with my absolute bae, John O'Hannah, explaining cordyceps and giving us a nice little bit of exposition that we didn't get in the game. Now, I sexually identify as would have anyone in the cast of The Mummy, even this guy. So if you start a show with any one of these people, you've got my goddamn attention. After we're told about the fungi controlling ants and giving ample foreshadowing, they cut to the opening credits. This just gave me goosebumps all over. The music is the original score from the game, which heavily played on my nostalgia strings, all the while accompanied by the cordyceps growing and making intricate patterns and symbols, including a city skyline, basically showing that they're in control now. Much like in the game, we start our story following Joel's daughter, Sarah. The show follows a full day with her, and on a first watch, I found this pretty slow. I thought the whole point was to show how mundane life was and how much we take that for granted, and I thought there was little hints such as like the store woman acting weird and the radio story talking about a virus in Jakarta. However, on a second watch, I noticed people acting really weird. Stuff like her school friend twitching, and obviously Mary McScaryface being the worst of all. And honestly, I think I need to go to the doctors. I just don't know how I missed this on a first watch. I also thought that it was a bit weird that it took these people almost a full day to turn, but then our next door neighbours took a few minutes. At first I figured it was the internal consistency of the episode was a bit off, but as we're shown later in the episode, where you get bitten greatly affects how much time it takes you to turn. That wasn't in the games. Once you were bitten, you turned within 48 hours. And I kind of love that little tidbit, and I took a sigh of relief that clearly great attention's been paid to relatively unimportant bits in the show. David, Daniel, take notes please. Everything is cush for about the first 20 minutes of the show, and then it really isn't. You feel the chaos and the carnage going on around you, and I like that they've taken shots directly from the game, particularly when you're driving in the car. It's basically a play-by-play of exactly what happened from exactly the same perspective. You feel like you're a passenger, you don't get to see everything, which increases your sense of panic. And in the game, a car crash renders Sarah unable to walk. Now, they did tease at this, but in the show, it was debris from a plane crash that ended up making the car crash, which is just pog. Okay, the next part I don't want to talk about, but I will. SWAT dude with a big gun sees Sarah hurt and assumes the worst. His orders are to kill anyone injured, and that's why the stupid fucker does it. Pedro Pascal and Nico Parker, who played Joel and Sarah, are just phenomenal, aren't they? They've had basically no scenes together, and the episode has been on for half an hour, yet this pain hurts. I watched that episode 3 times and I've ugly cried every time. Honestly, man, what a connection, what a performance, well done. If one child murder wasn't enough for you though, hold on to your seats because there's immediately another one. We flash forward 20 years and immediately see how fucked the world is now. I did like this scene though. Posters on the wall give us a very natural exposition of the zombie symptoms and how long it takes to turn. They also paint Fedra in a much more grey light. In the games, people are gunned down in the street if they're infected, and punishments are a lot more strict. They generally do come across as the baddies. In the show, however, the guards aren't just mindless zombies, excuse the pun. They're real people with wants and needs. Some of them are kind, some of them aren't. Most of them are just trying to survive like everybody else. We're reintroduced to Joel as he throws a tiny corpse into the fire in a dead behind the eyes kind of way. We see he works hard for his ration cards and has fingers and a lot of pies because he's also a smuggler who we can see straight away trades with the guards. We're then introduced to Tess, who is an absolute badass. When I first watched that opening scene, I thought for a moment she was the one doing the interrogation. The way she holds herself, the way she speaks was so cool. And my problem with women depicted in the media generally in the last 10 years is that badass women have no flaws and they can kick your ass and they have stupid witty comebacks to everything you say and they can fly and they can shoot fucking lasers out their goddamn fucking eyes, whatever you want. I get it. So it was really nice to see that immediately after this woman intimidates the hell out of this dude and his cronies, she smartly decides to hide from a load of armed guards and then is tackled to the floor by one of them. She surrenders because she knows that's the best thing for her to do. This is realistic. This would happen in real life. This is believable. This shows that people can adapt to their surroundings and how they act in one situation might not be how they react in another situation. Next up, we're introduced to Ellie, and I'm not going to lie, casting Bella Ramsey was a weird one for me. I didn't think she was bad in Game of Thrones, but she was certainly overrated.
And Lady Sandra is a Bolton. Who's she Lannister?
Oh, seriously, is that the take we're going to go with? But honestly, I was impressed. I like that although she's still good old badass Ellie with a teenage attitude problem and a mouth like a sailor, she's still a kid. I feel like the games lacked this sometimes too. Ellie in the games didn't always come across like a kid for me, and I feel like show Ellie is a good mix. I particularly like the "why won't you let me go home" line. It does just show she's a scared little kid at the end of the day. I don't have much to say about the Fireflies. They're not portrayed as goodies like I was expecting. Again, more morally grey. Marlene is fucking cool though. And, fun fact, she's played by Meryl Dandridge, who voiced Marlene in the games. And we also touch on Riley a little bit, who was part of the DLC Left Behind, but I'll talk about her more in future episodes. When Tess and Joel ran into Mr. Wall Zombie, literal poop came out of me. They say this one's done, which is a bit disappointing because in the game, these beautiful zombies, also known as stalkers, can go for years without moving, waiting for someone to pass before attacking them. Remember to see my other video for zombie breakdowns. But I was waiting for Mr. Wall Zombie to go boo, and he didn't, and it made me sad. I know it was just the opening episode and I'm trying to blow my load far too soon, but I really wanted to see more zombies. But we'll get there, I'm sure. Joel disarming Ellie was hilarious. In fact, Ellie in this entire scene is funny as fuck. We learned that the Fireflies turned Joel's brother Tommy against him, so there's obviously some beef there that we'll learn more about, I'm sure. Also, another highlight of the scene is, "You don't have a fucking ear on your fucking head, would you please?" Line of the episode for me. Mwah, chef's kiss. This whole scene has so many little funny quips, and honestly, I think it was good setup for all the little bits of banter that we're going to get going forward. So yeah, the conversation happens that allows the story to happen. Joel and Tess take Ellie and away we go. Ellie proves that she's a smart cookie by immediately figuring out Joel's shit smuggling code to Bill and Frank. Even smarter still, she coaxes out of him the rest of the code that the 80s music means trouble. Every line in this scene pushes the story forward, whether that's Ellie asking if they're going to be okay, to Joel looking like he might throat punch her when she figures out his code. It's foreshadowing of their relationship to come. It's complex. And that's not a spoiler. To my knowledge, Joel has never throat punched a little girl. Ellie being outside is hilarious. It's the last part of comedic relief that we get before this episode goes south. I like that it's the same guard that they run into during their escape. Again, this just goes to show that he's a normal dude trying to do his job, but he's still fully open to bribes. Ellie, like in the games, does a little stabby stab. However, what's not in the games is Joel's flashback to Nam. I actually really like this. It doesn't make sense that he would just attack the guards to protect Ellie. She's cargo and he's already shown that being a child doesn't have any bearing on him. Less than 10 minutes ago he was pointing a gun in Ellie's face. However, flashing back to the moment he lost his daughter is a pretty fucking good reason to punch a man's face off. The gang find out that Ellie's infected, but Joel is so engrossed by what he's just done, he almost seems to not react. And again, it just shows how much Joel has lost his humanity entirely since the death of his daughter. But yeah, they find out she's infected and they make a really quick decision to run anyway. What a way to end. The show closes on our smuggler cold radio playing Never Let Me Down Again by Depeche Mode. It's a song from the 80s. Someone's trying to tell Joel that there's trouble. And I mean, we definitely didn't need to be told that, so the chirpy little bop was a nice way of foreshadowing that Tess, Joel and Ellie are gonna have a bad time. This song was picked well too. In the opening verse it says, "I'm taking a ride with my best friend. I hope he never lets me down again. He knows where he's taking me where I want to be." And if that isn't exactly Joel and Ellie's story, I don't know what is. My only little nag here is that I wish they'd transitioned to more original score, because my god, that shit gets me going. Okay, that's it. You can go now. I've got a video on what you need to know before watching in case you need any more information about the world or characters. So if you fancy that, click here or check the link in the description. I also stream on Twitch on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so if you want to say hi, do pop by. As always, press all the buttons, do all the things, and I'll see you next time. Toodaloo! I need to sing a stupid happy little catchy song because YouTube is stupid and it gets it wrong. So if they try to copyright claim this right now, it just goes to show it's all a big cash cow.